Okay, this is Block 6, the Great Depression, Section 4, the 100 Days, with the section beginning with gold standard policies. One of Roosevelt's goals for his administration was to make the US dollar more manageable by the government. This process had begun during Woodrow Wilson's administration with the Federal Reserve Act. But the Federal Reserve Act, which allowed the country to print dollar bills backed by the US government, paper money, also allowed Americans to hold gold, and that any dollar of US currency could be traded in for its equivalent value in gold at request. One of the progressives' goals, and one of Roosevelt's goals in turn, was to make the dollar more manageable. So to do that in 1933, President Roosevelt and the Congress made it illegal for US citizens to hold monetized gold. And what that pretty much means is the United States was off the gold standard. That no more could you take a dollar bill and go to the bank and get gold in return. The government ordered all American citizens to turn over their monetized gold to the government in exchange for paper money. So if you had dollar coins, you could no longer use, have, and hold dollar coins. Merchants were not allowed to accept them. They no longer were legal tender. You were required to go into a bank, give them in, and get paper dollars in return. Now, to sweeten the pot and to kind of create a little bit of inflation, what Roosevelt did was he ordered the Treasury to buy that gold at a slightly increasing price. That if you started, in April, you could turn in your gold for $21 an ounce. And as the months went by, that price went up to $35 an ounce. That served to decrease the value of the dollar. And that served to create a little bit of purchasing power by the people who had formerly held gold. If you had gold that you thought was worth $21 and now you had paper money that was worth $35, that was a little bit more purchasing power. And the thought was that that would stimulate people to buy stuff and help the economy recover. So in 1933, on congressional order, millions of Americans brought their gold coins into the banks and exchanged them for paper money. And the American citizens have not been allowed to use gold coins since that time. What this did was it has two goals here for economic recovery. The first goal is to make the dollar more manageable by the Federal Reserve System. There's not any longer kind of the wild card of who has how much gold and what it's worth. And the other thing was to create a little bit of inflationary pressure, to give people more purchasing power, to give people more dollars in their pockets that are worth a little bit more money than they were earlier in the day. And in those two things, Roosevelt's gold standard policies was his attempt in another front, the recovery front, to improve the American economy.